I'm having, by the way, so much premarital sex it would blow your mind. But
Like, help me get a dating site.
Oh gosh, Ma, you don't want to be on there. So she gets the choice of him being financially responsible or not.
I believe so. I mean, that's the way it is, isn't it?
Is that gender privilege? Hello, my dear friends, and hello, Mother.
Well, hi, son. How are you?
I am very happy to be alive. Every day is a gift, and we're here recording a new video, so I'm super excited. We got some fun videos lined up for our viewing pleasure today.
I'm excited to see what you got for me today.
So we've got an individual, one in particular theme for this. It's an individual named Jesse Peterson. Are you familiar with him?
No, sir. Tell me.
He's an interesting character. I'm not going to get too much into beliefs on him. I'll just let him speak for himself.
You're saying that liberals are easily triggered because after a while they can't handle the situations that are happening in their life?
no, because it's very important to be passionate about the problems we're facing.
Amazing.
Triggered is the same as being passionate about things.
Let me examine this point here. Because when I was checking out this footage earlier, I was really thinking about this sentiment in general. Triggered is the same as being passionate. Let me see exactly what he says here.
Triggered is the same as being passionate about things.
Triggered is being the same as being passionate about things. What do you think of this?
I guess it could be, but I think triggered is a defense, whereas being passionate is an emotion and a good feeling, not a trigger. It is in a sense the same, but it's not.
Right. I was thinking about this earlier, and it is interesting because being triggered does have a lot of passion rooted into it, but I think the way you put it right there with being defensive is a pretty good way to put it. The way I was looking at it was not necessarily defensive, but more so the intention behind it. Triggered is a negative byproduct. It's rooted from being negative, wherein that there's a positive passion, which I look at as creating, which is art, which is music, which is dance, which is creating film, all of these different things, sports, all of these things are positive passion.
Right. We have passion behind them.
Right. And that's why you call them passion projects. So instead of mixing triggered with passion, it kind of muddies the water of what being triggered is. It kind of paints being triggered in a good light. But I don't think it's a good thing to be triggered. I do think passion is a good thing. I love passion. If somebody has a passion that they want to share with the world, I wholeheartedly encourage it. And I enjoy just being around them and absorbing their passion. That's one of my favorite things about people. But
the whole possibility of being around somebody that's triggered is a negative connotation to me.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Wherein that passion can all of a sudden turn into competition, where it's you could maybe say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or not do the right, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden, the trigger comes out, and that's my passion. Well, I don't want to step on a passion landmine. I don't want anything like that. So I think it's not fair to paint triggered the same as passion, personally.
100%. I agree.
Even for the men, it's okay that they should be triggered, that they give in to being triggered because they're being passionate.
Well, men historically are a lot more triggerable than women. Women are, generally speaking, more even keel in a public square. Men are the ones who started all the wars in history, if you look at it.
That's amazing.
Fact.
You seem to be a little bit surprised on that. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I mean, I totally agree, but if you look at the world, mostly men have ruled. I mean, they've been the president or the king, or, I mean, except Queen Elizabeth. She did rule for a long time. God bless her. But, I mean, I would say that most leaders in most countries are males. So if wars are being started mostly by male, it's like you said the other day, the population that's not where I was going. But no, I agree with that statement just because men have been in power.
Right, it's like a byproduct.
Correct.
It's not necessarily a root. It's just it happens to be that way because of the situations that have always been in place since the beginning of time.
I agree.
Are most liberal men beta males?
I don't think so.
Why are they easy to trigger? Because only a beta male would be triggered.
No, because Trump snowflakes are the most triggerable people in the world.
Have you ever
You
been
say
triggered?
one thing against Trump and they lose their minds.
Have you ever been triggered before?
Sure.
When the last time you were triggered?
I get triggered oftentimes.
On your video I saw where you were triggered on Tommy Lahire's show.
Uh-huh.
What was that like to be triggered in front of women?
You don't like women so much, huh?
No,
You
what
don't
was that
respect
like
them?
for you to be triggered in front of women?
It doesn't bother me to be triggered in front of a woman any more than it does in front of a man because I think all people are equal. It's an idea you should look into.
You were not.
I think this is hilarious, yeah.
Who is that? Who is this dude, this liberal?
Ben Glebe?
Yeah. He hosts a game show.
What's his Last Week on Earth podcast host?
Okay.
I have a very strong male ego that is able to show a full range of emotions and not have it crumble me like a very weak exterior that you're putting out to the world.
But
I'm
even the
comfortable
woman-
having emotion in front of all people, even in front of animals.
Did you feel like a beta male when she made a joke about you being triggered?
No, I don't look at humanity or masculinity in such stark, primitive, uninformed terms as beta or alpha.
Beta!
Alpha! I'm alpha, baby. But a true alpha?
Did you feel like an
This is-
alpha male when you were triggered and the woman made a joke about you being triggered?
Oh, absolutely I did.
You felt like an alpha?
Absolutely I did. I tore off my mic and stormed out. It's a pretty strong thing to do.
Are you
Strong.
married?
Is that a strong thing to do?
To walk out on a set?
To be triggered by something that somebody says or does, and I didn't see the clip, so I guess there's not really enough context
Right,
to fairly
exactly.
assess this. But I guess the question is running away something an alpha would do? That's kind of opposite of what the stereotype of the alpha. So I guess if you're looking at it from surface value, it doesn't seem that way.
I tend to run away because I don't want to say something I shouldn't say. That's when I run away from controversy or confrontation.
Sure.
I'm not going to say anything because you can't take anything back. You can
Right.
apologize for something.
Well, while we're on the topic, though, as far as the subject of alpha and beta, do you think that this is a real thing?
Possibly. I mean, in dogs, you know.
Yeah, I was
there's-
just about to say, and
you know-
the kingdom of the nature of the animal kingdom, there clearly is alpha packs and alpha leaders, and
But I don't necessarily agree with. No, I do not believe in alpha male in the human.
humankind.
Right. I would say there are captains. Like, would you consider a captain of a baseball team or a football team or a wrestling team an alpha?
I would just call that a leader.
Yeah. So that would be how I would.
So there's leaders. Well, then you've almost got, what is it, type A and type B personalities then, which I think it's type A can be a leader and a follower, whereas type B is typically just a follower.
Right.
So maybe that's a thing.
Could be. Could be.
Because some people argue that there's alpha females as well. Because obviously the term is typically alpha male and beta male. But I guess there could just be type A and type B people, or you have the.
I mean, you could use the word any way you want to use it.
Sure.
I mean, so if you want to use it, then
Right.
that way it's fine. But I mean, it's like there's people that do and there's people that don't.
Right, but it's kind of wild how loosely defined and how ambiguous and vague the alpha beta thing is, because maybe that's why it's gotten so popular over the last few years, because it's so loosely defined that you can kind of make it fit whatever agenda or ideology that you want it to fit into.
Right.
Wow.
Oh, I'm not married, but let me say one thing. And I'm having, by the way, so much premarital sex it would blow your mind. But
For real?
That was necessary.
For real? Was that? Hold on. Was that a preemptive? Hey, dude, I'm getting plenty of
I'm
action.
good.
Hold on.
Wrong thing to do.
Are
Strong.
you married?
Oh, I'm not married. But let me say one thing. And I'm having, by the way, so much premarital sex it would blow your mind.
Well, he's a reverend, though, right? Oh, no. Jesse?
Reverend Jesse Lee
Yeah,
Peterson.
so he's just breaking it in for him, letting him know, you know. You may not believe in it, but I'm good.
Right.
But would you see a man, a woman in a pantsuit and saying that she's a man, but you see, with your eyes, you see as a woman, would you pretend that it is a man?
I would ask how they wanted to have their gender identified.
And you pretend that it's whatever they say?
I would respectfully believe that I'm going to respect their beliefs to identify as they wish.
But in your mind, you know it's not real.
It's real. It's real to me if it's real for them. So.
In your mind,
I mean,
you're
do you
making-
think I'm passing as a woman right now?
Are you?
Am I a woman?
You just made me nervous. Are you?
I don't know.
You don't know what you is?
Well,
What
I'm just
what
saying.
you is. That's black. You don't know what you are. You don't know what you is. You don't know what you
No,
are.
I identify as a woman
And why?
because I mean that's how I want to identify.
Did God make you that way?
I mean, I don't think God made me that way. I think that
Were you born a woman or a female?
I was born a woman.
Oh, okay. Is there a difference between Native American women and white women?
I think Native women are better looking.
Better looking than white women? Ooh.
No, I always say that to my students. I'm like, if you learn one thing about Native people, it's that we're very good looking.
Are Native women better looking than black women?
I don't know.
Why you don't know that?
Well, because I'm like, I'm not gonna the race, different other race stuff.
You scared to
So-
say that about the black.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not messing with black
Otherwise,
people, so I'm
you
with
gonna have
them.
Black Lives Matter burning down your house if you say.
Well, and I mean, it really does depend, obviously.
What does
It really does depend, obviously. That's unreal. It depends. We're better than whites, but black people I'm not so sure about.
No, it's not better looking. More attractive. She said.
Sure. So therein lies the difference. Is that preference or is that racism? Because she didn't want to say anything about black
Right.
people.
Yeah.
She
Or
didn't even
Native-
want to touch the subject,
Correct.
let alone give an opinion
That was the
on
first
it.
thing I said. Why would you say that about Native and white people, but you're not going to say Native and black people?
Right. And
Black and white people?
she says, I tell all my students, if you take away anything about the Native American women, it's just that they're more beautiful than white women.
That's kind of offending me in a way, but I mean, if that's how she believes, I guess that's like it's a country. You can have that opinion.
That's a teacher right now. That's a teacher.
Yeah, we've talked about that the other day.
you think you would still feel inferior?
I don't feel inferior.
But the Indians that white people make them feel that way, if they were raised as with two parents, decent examples, would they still be made to feel inferior?
Well, I think we should talk about why they don't get to be two-parent households, right?
Because
No.
they're not getting married.
Well, also because Native men, like black men, are incarcerated at very high rates. They're like serving our nation overseas.
They're committing crimes.
So, well, I mean, we're more likely to get caught too.
Right, and go to jail because they don't have money to get good lawyers.
Exactly.
So that ain't the white man's fault.
Well, I think it is actually.
So the white
Ooh. That's pretty generalizing.
She's got some crazy ideas. Sorry, I don't know her, but I don't want to know her. So I wonder if this guy's a party animal.
He's got some interesting views and statements. He's been on record of saying that promiscuous women are sluts, but when they ask back, well, what is a man that's promiscuous then? And he says, a slut maker.
Oh my! I've never heard that before.
These are his views. I didn't want to get
Yeah.
too much into his things. He's a very controversial figure within the field, of course, but we'll keep-
I'm not impressed with anything that's coming out of his mouth, to be honest. So
he's I find him funny. Like, it doesn't matter if anybody agrees with him or not. Like, he's just funny. He's a beta. Like, the whole that's actually something that he's really notorious for too. Is just to yell beta male. It's goofy stuff.
You love heterosexual?
Do I love I mean, I think people can go be heterosexual. That's great.
What do you mean go be it? Do you love it though?
Do I love it? No.
Would you prefer a straight man or a gay man?
I don't prefer men. So
Oh, you like women?
I like different types of people. So
You mess around with women though?
yes.
You a lesbian?
Yes, I identify as queer woman.
You a lesbian?
Yeah, you didn't. How did you not get this from your research? I do queer indigenous theory. That's like my other
But
thing.
I didn't know you were a lesbian.
Well, I identify as being queer.
But you don't look like a lesbian.
Well, what are we
No
supposed
wonder
to
you don't
look
want to have a
like?
baby.
Because I
What are your thoughts on this guy?
I don't know what he's striving to do. I mean, she's trying to make a point about how Native Americans have been, I mean, they have been.
Right.
I mean, since the beginning.
Yeah.
Taken advantage of and stolen from and used. So I see where she's coming from, but I honestly don't agree with what he has to say. Like asking, she's here to prove a point, and he wants to know how she grew up. Did you grow up with both your parents? You know, and then for him to laugh in her face as, "Oh, you don't look like a lesbian." What does a lesbian look like?
That's what she's saying. Yeah.
know?
He's clearly a character, and I honestly think
He's stoned, maybe.
I think it's a mix of he's definitely getting older, and it's questionable how much that is playing into the way he behaves and acts and socializes. He's obviously clearly extreme in his views. That's very obvious. But I think he also leans into it comically. I think he's exaggerating his character to get views. Like he's leaning into this facade of a character. And I think it's funny because he is clearly too extreme. I think he's obviously too extreme. You don't look like a lesbian. Like, well, yeah, what are the definable traits? Like, so I think it's silly, and I think it's almost satire. It's almost satirical to me. But it's dressed up as reality.
I'm not impressed with anything, so my sense of humor is a little bit different than yours.
Sure.
But
It's not
Yeah.
something that I would go out, I would seek out and watch, but some of the things that he says are pretty hard to avoid.
I mean,
Beta.
I would have never, if I would have not known she was an Indian, I would have never known she was an Indian. But you
Sure.
definitely don't know by looking at somebody whether they're lesbian or not,
Sure.
or whether they're queer
Yeah,
or
that's
not.
pretty outlandish, yeah.
You know,
Unless
So,
you
I
make
mean,
it exaggerated and, clear.
Right,
yeah.
right. To a degree where you want to look
Right.
that way. But, like, he really got a big kick out of it. And, like she said, did you not read my profile? Did you not do your research?
I think
Maybe
she
he
handled
just
this
didn't
all really
remember.
well.
Yeah. It was,
She's
yeah.
laughing it off. I think that's really healthy. And they're having fun with the situation, I think. To me, it's like he's very ignorant. He's very narrow-minded in a lot of ways. But I think that's why he doesn't continue his follow-up with the questions. Like he doesn't. Well, he'll have follow-up questions, but you saw his list of questions over there, and that's how he does it. Like even the last guy pointed out to him, you're just a series of rapid-fire questions. There's no engagement with the conversation at all.
have more
You
options.
are a lesbian?
Yes. I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, identify as queer, but
A queer lesbian.
No.
well, I mean, yeah, lesbian
I'm
has its
stunned
own.
that you're a lesbian.
So, I don't live in the suburbs, or
But why you look so feminine if you're a lesbian?
because that's the way I choose to, to be in the world,
To be feminine.
to
like
be
a lady.
feminine, to be
And so do you like hard lesbians?
It depends on the person. Yeah,
You like lesbians that act like men?
it really depends on who it is.
person.
So,
Wow.
I mean, I also just really love beautiful women of all kinds of types.
Sure.
Well, not that much love.
So, well, I guess I do.
You have just blown me away.
She doesn't look like an Indian. She doesn't look like a lesbian. She doesn't look queer. But again, I'll always stick to my guns that I mean, a man could walk into her life and rock her world. She doesn't know, but
I thought she was super sweet.
Yeah, she was very, very
She was
nice.
very understanding and
She
laughed off his ignorance and yeah.
Oh, the poor fella.
So that was
Yeah, let's not
Native
ever go there
American
again.
USC assistant professor Dr. Chris Finley. Of course, obviously, the links will all be down below. This is going to be interesting. So you don't know who JustPearlyThings is, I'm sure, right?
No.
Okay, so this is her here, the redhead down here in the bottom. She's a very controversial figure within the manosphere and the red pill community. She has been spouted of saying things like women shouldn't vote and other very controversial statements. And
So we're going to put probably two people I don't like in one room.
we'll see. You may like her. But the thing is, I shouldn't have even told you that because I don't want her opinions to be her. We'll just hop into it.
But if
Let
you
me
were,
finish, bro.
but if you were truly religious, like
thanks.
you would have waited, and that's why it sounds like bullshit to men because they're like, okay, well, where was this religion back when you were fucking Tyrone?
She's so forward, ain't she?
Yep, a little bit. I mean, again, it's not that I don't not like her. And it's not that, but she's going to have different opinions than me. She's going to have different opinions than all of us.
Sure.
But I'm not going to not like somebody because they have different ideas or beliefs. Just don't force them on me
Sure.
and we'll get along great. Right?
Well, wait, so I have a question.
But the least happy demographic of women is women over the ages of 45 that make between, I think it's like between $50,000 to like $70,000 per year and are single and childless. Like life gets
Are
pretty
they
life
bothered
gets,
about it though?
What?
Are they bothered about being
Yeah, they're the
childless?
least happy demographic. Like life gets pretty lonely after the age of 45. Like, right? I don't think as women we really understand how different the world treats us because we're pretty women. And because one day your looks are going to be gone, you're going to get no attention from men. Like 40 to no men are lining up to date 50-year-olds. Because if you've never
Okay, so this is an interesting topic. Let me explain a concept within the red pill manosphere philosophy, I guess. So, at a certain point, the red pill teaching says a woman will hit the wall. They call it the wall, where at a certain point, the woman stops getting prettier. Essentially, they hit a certain age,
Right.
And the
Looks.
age takes a toll. And they say their age varies from 28 to 32, whatever, any arbitrary number it may be. But that's a concept that she's talking about, that she's referring to. I'm sure it was discussed at some point in this podcast. But I wanted to get your thoughts on how, as far as pretty privilege that she's talking about here, would you agree that there's a certain level of pretty privilege that most women? Obviously she's generalizing here, but obviously there's varying levels of beauty, if you will. But do you believe in such a concept as pretty privilege?
I believe that's out there for sure. I mean, just, and if these beautiful women use that to get in life what they want, I guess that's their prerogative. However, I like those beautiful people that I know that don't know they're beautiful, but they still get privilege. I mean, I see it happening, like my friend who I thought I got a great hotel rate at the hotel when we went traveling, and she got up early and went downstairs and talked to the dude at the front desk and ended up getting me a better rate. It was like, it's because she's cute, so she doesn't necessarily use her beauty. So yeah, but there is privilege. There is definitely
Okay.
privilege.
Do you believe in the concept of the wall, where there's a certain point where you stop getting prettier, if you will, and the privileges start to fade over time?
Oh, yeah. Everybody loses their looks as they get older. And that's why you would hope that in life you would find somebody that is more than just good looks, you know, that you have a deeper emotional connection with somebody, because your looks are going to fade. You know, everything is going to start sagging eventually.
So the predominant way of thinking within the manosphere is that women start their life with this privilege, and they essentially live the first portion of their life on easy mode, comparatively so. And as they get older and this pretty privilege starts to fade and they hit what they call the wall, that privilege starts fading, whereas men, they start at nothing and can continue to be nothing if they do nothing with their lives and they're not ambitious. But for those high value men that she's been talking about, their value goes up over time and they don't hit what is called the wall. That's what they argue. They say that men increase in SMV, which is sexual marketplace value. A lot of these terminologies here, I know, but it's essentially how hot, how desirable, how high value you are. And they say, yeah, the men's value increases over time, whereas the woman's decreases over time. Thoughts on this?
And I agree, but I guess in the back of my head, what I'm looking at is when you say the man doesn't hit a wall, that's because there's probably a better chance, because he is that high value man, that a woman can get more out of him than the normal man. If he's got all that everything else going for him, then a man, if he's 30 and fit and has a good job and can treat you well and you can do everything because his income has allowed you to take trips and do that and do that. And at 40, he's still making that money. And you would just hope that his relationship that he was in was more intense on everything else. But he's not going to hit a wall, because chances are he's going to keep that value that way. You know, you can overlook somebody's cheating on you or somebody's being mean or negative to you, or even your friends or your family, if you are getting everything from him that you desire and that you want.
Okay. So would you agree that generally women would be willing to be with a higher value man, even if he's wants to cheat, be with other women, maybe have a harem of women, as long as you're his woman? Is that something that you would agree most women would agree to?
I would say there is that woman out there for sure. I mean, I couldn't deal with a man cheating, period, even if I had everything I wanted. And like she said earlier, you can marry the man and get all of it in the end anyway.
Sure. So
But
let's say in a hypothetical scenario, there's a very wealthy, successful man that treats you well, gives you everything you want, has a great life, can treat you incredibly well with everything, but he wants to have girlfriends on the side. You wouldn't be okay with that?
probably not.
Fair enough.
Probably
okay.
not.
Even
I
if
wouldn't.
you had everything taken care of, your entire family's forever taken care of, generational wealth.
If we were married, yeah, I guess I can't say for sure. No, absolutely not. But in my heart of hearts, I couldn't deal knowing that this man, even though he treats me like gold and puts me on a pedestal and the world revolves around me, but Tuesday nights he's with Judy. And this Friday night, I'll probably be gone all weekend. Knowing that he's going to be with another woman, no, I don't think that I could emotionally take it. And I also don't think that I could take the fact of possibly getting something that I physically, like, sexually, you know, a SD, what do they call it? STI, STD, STDs.
Sure.
So no, I my heart would ache knowing that the man that I loved was with somebody else. So maybe no, I don't think I could.
Okay. That's one of the things that she argues here, and one of the things that she uses to support, and a lot of people will use the data to support it, is the data from online dating apps. It shows that 80% of the women on dating apps are dating less than 20% of the men on there. So essentially that means that you have a huge portion of women that are dating a small subsect of men, the best of the best. Because they have the option, you know, they can swipe right on whatever they want.
Right. Funny that you brought that up though, son, because I have never been on a dating site. Just because of my computer knowledge is not good enough for me to not be frightened that I'll swipe the wrong way, or so I might throw that at you, you know? Like, help me get a dating site.
Oh gosh, Ma, you don't want to be on there.
Okay, never mind.
It's
just a thought.
No, you can look at any number of videos from women's perspective, and they all agree on the dating apps. It's nothing but.
How about for my age, though?
Yeah.
I mean,
they say the older the worse it gets. But I mean, I don't, it's worth a shot. I'll you know, I guess
I
we
just
can.
kind of figure we could maybe do this together and help me get it set up and see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Oh gosh.
Surprise!
Yeah, let's keep rolling here.
What did women really go through?
Can I just ask you that this?
Okay.
What do you mean?
Like,
Okay,
what do we
just-
go through?
What do you mean? What have we gone through? I don't know.
It's a question.
It's a
What
question. If
you
you're
said
gonna-
women
if
have gone
you're
through
gonna
this,
Do you
this,
think
and this.
women are
make it-
oppressed?
No. Not in,
Oh,
not
okay.
in the
So that's
slightest.
that's just straight off a completely different.
Like, explain how women are oppressed.
How do you think they're not?
No, you're answering a question with a question.
Because like history.
Okay,
Like you think go back
what
to
history?
I don't know how old you.
Are women oppressed, Mom?
No. Well, no.
You can be honest. I'm not going to judge you or think.
Oh, I know. Again, it's your own character. I think there's it depends. No, it's just it's a character of a person. You're either gonna stand for shit or you're not gonna stand for shit. And I mean that in a lot of things. I mean that in your political views, your educational views, your financial views. You're either going to strive and do it, or you're going to be held back and not do it. I mean,
So you don't believe that women are oppressed simply because of the fact that they're women?
like maybe 20% of me does.
In what ways are you getting that 20%? Like what's making you feel like certain ways that women are oppressed? And I'm not going to give you any grief or anything either.
No, I know you're not.
Yeah.
I know you're not. I don't know. I would have to think about it. I just can't. I just think women don't have the same. I think if two college educated people walked in for one job and one was a man and one was a woman, they're going to give it to the man. And I think one of those things are because, I'm going to hire this college educated chick, and, next thing you know, she's going to get married, and then she's going to need time off, and heck, she may not come back. Where the man, he is going to, chances are, not take a leave of absence. He's not going to carry a baby. Now they have the Family Leave Act, so he has the right to take off 6 weeks once his child is born. And if he financially can do that, then that's great. But I think in that sense that they're going to choose the man over the woman. Simply for reasons like that. No? Agree or disagree?
No, you're absolutely right. But that is a situation that an employer would go through, and they would think that. But the question is that oppression, or is that just an employer being logical?
Well, I think it's not fair because...
But you yourself would agree that it makes sense for the employer to do that correctly, correct? Like logistically, from a long-term employment point of view, right? Like you want to develop employees that are going to stick with you and not be out for a year while they have a child, right? I mean, do you fault the employer for that?
Well, I think it should be based on more. I mean, I think it could even be the woman can be the higher of the choices, the better choice for your business. But since she'll probably go there one day, I'm going to hire the man. So, yeah, are they looking out for their own business? I don't think most businesses would survive without women, though. But I don't know. I mean, women sometimes are, because they're a woman, they don't get things they should. And again, it's all how you were raised. You know, if you're raised where, you know, you're raising your daughters to be strong, independent women, and your sons to be strong, independent men, then, you know, they should be able to rule the world. No?
No, you're right. But we're talking about oppression based on gender. And I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, encourage your children and teach them to be, you know, all they can be. But as far as whether or not men have some sort of hidden advantage, because it's like you know, choosing a man to pick up a heavy box. You know, yeah, you're gonna do that. That just makes sense. Like if there's an elderly woman compared to a young man to do a physical activity, why would you choose the elderly woman? Like, it just makes sense. Oh, are elderly women oppressed? Are we going to choose, would we choose a child over an adult for a job that requires mathematics? Are children oppressed because of that? It's an awful example. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but you get what I'm going for here, right?
Yes. So I'm going to have to think more about it.
I mean, if you just look at it objectively, taking out what you've been influenced by, what your personal feelings are saying, because you can look at it logically and say, the employer is making what he feels is the best decision for his company. And if that means that he's going to opt for a man instead of a woman who may or may not be leaving on pregnancy notice, I think it's because that if you go down that road, then it starts enforcing hires, because we need
We have
to,
that, and we have that already.
and I don't agree with that.
You know, you have to have a percentage.
And I don't agree with that. I think it should be based on qualifications.
Correct. Always it should be.
Then why are there enforcements on quotas? You know, they're doing that with movies now too. For I think it's the Oscars or something, Grammys or one of these whatever award shows. They have you have to meet a certain quota, not only in the film of having diversity hires, but also in the crew. Like this is a slippery slope, and if we start trying to equal the playing field so that everybody has equal representation, then we're just dooming ourselves. We're dooming ourselves to mediocrity, if not absolute destruction. And we should have the most qualified individuals for every position of the rung, not just positions of power. Every
it's
position
mandated. Yeah.
Today, are women oppressed? They may have been oppressed.
I mean, I have 5 brothers, so when girls say things like men are trash, men are the problem, da 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 da, I'm like, okay, you can speak for yourself. Like, the men you pick are the problem. Because I have 5 really great brothers. I have a really great father, and so if you have an issue with men, like, that's a you problem, and don't put that on me.
Good.
I think that's a pretty valid point, and I also think that a lot of the people that have issues with men simply have not had a good one in their lives. Whether that's a father thing, a lack of a good father, a lack of father at all. I think a lot of the kill all X, whether it's men or women, is due to a lack of understanding good people in their lives. To show, hey, men can be good. Hey, women can be good. Hey, we need each other. and we just don't have enough of that in our life. We don't have enough encouragement to love the other people. It's so hostile. Men are trash. Like there has been a war on the genders for so long. And I remember when we were young, we would kind of have just like a goofy little, boys rule, girls rule, all this. And it was fun back then. It was just, very playful, never serious. I never really took it serious thinking that men are better than women or vice versa. But it's taken on a whole new meaning, and it's gone to legitimate superiority of people on both sides. Because the term misogyny, if you look up the trending results on the word misogyny, it's skyrocketed in the search results because it's just such a buzzword. Do you know what misandry is? Misandry is the opposite of misogyny, where misogynists think that that men are better than women just on that reason. There's misandry where women think that they're better than men simply because they're women. And if you look at how much or how the lack of that, the prevalence of that, it blows me away that there's such little pointing out and analyzing all of the hypocrisy between people being called misogynists and people being called misandrous, because there's people thinking that they're better than the others. There's bigotry all over, and I'm just getting too much.
Yeah, it's a little much, but I agree. It's you can't label all genders or types of people based on your opinion.
Yeah, some minor example, some personal anecdote they may or may not have even experienced. They may be going off of some a story that they heard on the news, and that's a big issue. There's so much propaganda that's going on to influence people into thinking a certain way, and
to divide and conquer. Divide. I mean, let's make everything a competitive.
It's all a war, yeah.
Right. All right, let's get finished with this here, Jack.
If you're going to have sex with a woman, there is a chance that woman may get pregnant. Like,
so if you have sex with a guy, there's a chance you might get pregnant.
Yeah.
That's on you.
So, yeah. So if you get to choose not to be a mother, he should get to choose not to be a father. Equal. Equality.
Oh, that's a whole other subject. Then give the man the pill if he chooses not to have a child. If he doesn't want children, then let him use the birth control or be abstinent.
And that's, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they would need the pill with the contraception for the condom.
Correct. That's why I said if you don't want to have, but I understand what she's saying. It should be a man's choice, also, along with a woman's.
So, I mean, we can dive into that before we wrap it up. As far as, obviously, it should be a woman's choice on whether or not she gives up her child. Correct? Would you agree with this?
Yes.
And not the man's choice? Not the father's choice? It's irrelevant, his thoughts?
Well, I'm too old to even think about that right now. And maybe too tired, because I do think it's just the woman's choice. And I don't think our government should control that either. That's a whole new thing too.
So, okay, so if it's the woman's choice to proceed forward with a child, should she have a child with a man, and let's say he doesn't want to be a part of it, should he have to support this child if she decides to continue with it?
I wouldn't want him to, but I mean, is he legally responsible? You would have to prove DNA. I mean, and that's a common thing now. But if he went out there and got her pregnant, then he's equally responsible whether he wants the child or not.
So she gets the choice of him being financially responsible or not.
I believe so. I mean, that's the way it is, isn't it?
Is that gender privilege? Thank you guys so much for watching.
Oh, you got me. You got me.
We'll have plenty more coming up. What are your thoughts on Just Pearly Things from this initial thoughts on her?
It's interesting. I'd like to definitely see more of her. Probably not a whole lot, but I would like to listen to one of her whole shows. But I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and you can agree with it or not agree with it. You know, if you don't like somebody, don't be around them. You don't like what somebody says, don't be around them.
I agree with that 100%. If that's the only thing that you have control over is what you subject yourself to. If you are constantly trying to modify the situations that you are putting yourself in, you're going to be stressed out and exhausted and overwhelmed. I get why they're like that. Now, it's suddenly dawning on me. They're exhausted and upset because they're constantly trying to modify the world around them and people around them. It all makes sense now. All right, guys, go ahead and drop us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Mom, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Much love, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Y'all.